horses. I'd love to hear for those who have no idea who you are, where you came from. The visuals also, you have such beautiful images in your marketing of, I think, your sister riding a horse by the river that you grew up by. And will you just tell us, where did you grow up? How did the horse love start that then got you to the place where you were
Yeah.
grounded? Yeah.
Yeah. So where my story comes from, where I came into story with horse, is I was about 9, 10 years old. My mother read the book Black Beauty. She used to sit in a tub and she read the book Black Beauty, and that inspired her. Well, the next thing you know, she bought 3 horses. So me and I have 3 younger sisters. I'm the oldest. We then grew up with these horses. We had a 15 head herd of horses and we lived in the country. And this was before the day of the computer, before the explosion of the internet. And we played outside. So we lived with the horses, literally, in huge, open, expansive areas. We used to also ride down to Lake Michigan, which is a huge lake. And we would also go riding the horses in Lake Michigan. We'd ride on the long, long, long trails. And being a young girl, that's where I started to get my exposure. And then it just grew from there. And then so from there too, my mother used to read us fairy tale stories and oral stories. And then I looked at a lot of stories that where the horse was in there, and it just spoke to me in so many different ways. And then eventually the horses, they started to claim me. So they helped me through my different teachers. And I learned from 3 main teachers about a different way of connecting with the horse than the way I was taught by society and then the horse clubs that I belong to, the 4-H club I belong to. And I always had a drive to go beyond what culture wasn't providing for me. So I was always living on the edge, and I didn't fit in real well to the natural scene of horsemanship.
Yeah.
So because of that, one day I was at work, I was sitting at work, and a couple days thereafter, there is no timeline to this because this is very hard to put into linear words. But what happened is, when equine assisted mental health, equine assisted coaching, equine assisted learning, horse therapy, it wasn't even a thing in this world, but it fell into my lap. And I mean, literally. And because one day I was perusing the internet and I came across equine assisted mental health and learning, and it was being offered at Prescott College at the time. They were the first ones to offer this course. I picked up the phone. I talked with the facilitator there, the instructor, the professor, and I loved what I was hearing. And then 3 days later, I was on their doorstep enrolled in getting my master's degree in counseling psychology, but then the concentration was in equine assisted mental health and learning. And from there, my world literally changed because we learned on a ranch. We didn't learn from a book like most colleges teach you, and then you memorize what you learn in the book and then you get graded on that. So we learned viscerally, and then there was a huge spiritual component to it as well, because I needed to, the group I was with, we were on this path being guided to go deeper. And that's why I call myself an early pioneer in this field, because I've seen it grow from a little seed that was planted into 300% growth, in 1 year, to where now it's worldwide, and it's entering all facets of people's lives, all different types of populations. And so that's just one of my stories. I mean, I could go on and on about that. But then I also learned from a few other 2 teachers Chief Philip Whiteman Jr. I learned from him, and you talk about the sweat lodge. I used to sit in sweat lodges with him all the time. And then he is a horse trainer, but he follows what's called the medicine wheel model of horse training, and he's full-blood Cheyenne, and he lives in Lame Deer, Montana. And he would come down to Door County quite often. For him, it was a respite time to get away, but then he would meet with a group of us at this horse ranch, and we would sit and listen to him, and he would share the Cheyenne ways of horses, of nature, of people. We sat in a sweat lodge with him, and the things that he shared with us is just so different. And I was raised with the Catholic upbringing, but something in me too said I need to go beyond the Catholic upbringing and learn a different way if I am to become the fullest human being that I can, in the life that I'm living right now.
Wow. You just said so many incredible things that I want to reflect back. The horses, they started to claim me. And what a perspective shift that is on traditional horsemanship, which you were just referring to. A different way to connect. That was part of why I was attracted to work with you and many of my other spiritual horse teachers, is that I was in a season of pregnancy, recovering from injury. We live on a property that gets iced in every winter. And I was curious about other ways to connect with the herd, and also what that turned into. And I didn't know this was going to happen, but that our horses, I believe, are called to serve their community and others, and by extension, our community. When we ride our horses down the trail here, I say when you ride a horse down the trail in the suburbs of Chicago, it's a public service. Because there are so many people who have never seen a horse, have not been near horses, haven't had the opportunity to smell them, touch them, have any idea how to be around them, never mind horsemanship and cowboy and spiritual connection. Right now, I love how you said it just fell into your lap and that there's no timeline. I mean, that's classic horse time.